Good afternoon. I want to acknowledge His Excellency, President Mnangagwa, my colleague ministers who are here, our host, the owner of this very luxurious hotel, distinguished business leaders who are here. We have agreed, and at the request of His Excellency, he is not going to make a statement, but he will be available to answer any questions. This is all in the interest of time. So I hope it will be appreciated. I stand here just to highlight, and I want to thank the Governor of the Central Bank for his very comprehensive presentation in a very short period of time. So I just wanted to pick one or two areas just by way of highlighting. First, I want to highlight the issue of political stability that Zimbabwe enjoys. And we demonstrated our maturity as a nation, as a people, during the transition that took place recently. I know that as business people, when you go into a country for the first time, you do a scan, you check what the political, socio-economic environment is like. If at the time I was going to give you a scan on our political situation, but I don't have that time. Suffice to say that the changes in leadership that took place in November were smooth, peaceful, lawful, procedurally correct, and constitutional. And that speaks volumes about the political maturity of our people. And I'm confident that as we go into the future, that political stability will be guaranteed. I also want to highlight the issue about the depth of human capital in Zimbabwe. I believe where we stand, any company in any sector, whether nuclear or otherwise, can come and set up shop in Zimbabwe, and you'll find a large pool of educated Zimbabweans who can be trained overnight. That I can assure you and I can guarantee you. At the moment, we are not sitting on our laurels. We are embarking on a new curriculum from kindergarten up to tertiary education, where we are giving focus to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This is with a view to creating a new cadre of Zimbabwean who can create employment for others. So I thought I should highlight that. Like any other country, and Zimbabwe in particular, we have been facing a lot of challenges. And I think the governor took you some of them. Low production, low exports, a problem with our deficit, with our fiscal deficit. You can name them. But these challenges are our challenges, our shortcomings. They come to you as opportunities. So wherever you think we are being criticized heavily in terms of a shortcoming, that is where your opportunity lies. And I'm happy that as you sit here, you will actively look into how to take up some of those opportunities. The governor has emphasized, of course, that our growth rate projected this year is 4.5%. I wanted to say that I put it in the national budget. It's a conservative rating. I believe we are going to do better by the end of the year, given the opening up of our economy, given also the fact that we are moving full throttle on our economic reform agenda. Full throttle. In fact, the foot is on the pedal and not on the brake. And we are satisfied that across the board, we should be able to achieve this. We are reforming the state enterprises sector. We are reforming the local authorities, just like we are reforming the budget at the national level. We are putting in incentives to encourage production and more exports and more exports. And when all these things are taken into account, we envisage a higher growth rate this year. As you are aware already, we have already started amending the indigenization law to align it with our policy. In fact, the amendment is in the finance bill, which has already passed the National Assembly and just awaiting to pass through the Senate. And I'm very confident that we will have support. As already the governor has mentioned, and His Excellency has also articulated on many issues, agriculture is the anchor of our economy. But we realize what the challenges are. The challenges are that we had a dispute with the former owners, and we are taking measures, concrete steps, to resolve those disputes. Essentially, to agree that a mode of paying compensation to them. And at the moment, working in collaboration with them, we have been evaluating the improvements which, under the Constitution, we are obliged to pay. We have also been evaluating land and improvements in respect of farms which are protected under bilateral protection agreement. Further, we are going to do land surveys to fix new boundaries preparatory to giving tenure, that is 99 tradable, collateralized 99-year lease. That we are undertaking. If the pace is slow, it's not because of any intentions, it's because sometimes we have to scratch around for resources in order to speed it up. But clearly, we are very clear what needs to be done. In the mining sector, I just wanted to let the cat out of the bag to say the Minister of Mines in the next few weeks is going to, we want participation in the gold sector because we believe it's our quick win. We have a lot of gold mines which have been idle for a long time, and we are inviting joint venture participation partnerships in the gold sector. So you'll be going out to advertise, to invite expressions of interest. And we now have a joint venture act which lays the legal framework for us to consider any proposals for joint venture participation. Already, and I want to appeal again to the owner of this hotel to think seriously about coming to Zimbabwe in the first place, to visit us, but also to avail himself the opportunity of building a hotel in the special economic tourism corridor that we have declared, stretching from Victoria Falls, including the Hwange National Park, Binga, Kariba, and Manapools, another treasure in terms of wildlife. So we would appreciate very much if you come to visit us. With respect, I thought there is something that should have been mentioned, but somehow it slipped the attention of the governor. That is the currency issue. I know all of you have on your minds the issue about Zimbabwe does not have a currency of its own. And you are always asking questions, when will the local currency come? It will come, but only after certain macroeconomic fundamentals are satisfied. And we are going to have to address the issue of fiscal consolidation. We are going to have to address the issue about building reserves sufficient to give us an import cover of, say, 6 months and above. We are going to have to address the issue of low production, low exports, trade imbalance. All those issues, we need to address them first before we are satisfied that we are ready to introduce our own currency. At the end of the day, the issue of currency is a confidence issue. And we will certainly do our best to make sure that we do introduce it in an environment where it receives the confidence of our people. On re-engagement, the aspect I wanted to say is that all along our re-engagement has been to try to normalize economic relations. But since our president came, we are now looking for political normalization of relations with all countries, irrespective. So we are putting out messages to those countries which we were not in good standing, Europe, the United States, the UK, to say, let's normalize political relations. As far as we are concerned, Our first prize, obviously, is the United Kingdom, because our quarrel has been with the British, and if we normalize and sort out that quarrel between us, I'm confident that some of the pieces will fall into place. The issue of a market was mentioned. Clearly, if you are coming to set up in a special economic zone, if you are coming to look for a bigger market, Zimbabwe is only 14 million. And so what we encourage you is to know and understand that Zimbabwe is part of SADC, which has a population of something like 300 million people. Also, Zimbabwe is part of the COMESA larger group, up to Tunisia, up to Egypt, which has an even larger population. So when you come, think of exports, think of a larger market, not just Zimbabwe. We will only be a springboard for your activities on the continent. Now, with that explanation and highlighting, let me now, with your permission, introduce His Excellency. I think, as you know, the chief executive is a very important person in a company. And so he is also, when he's the chief executive of a country. And it is very important that you should know his background, where he's come from, where he's going, and so on. The family of the president migrated to Zambia in the 50s, running away from colonial oppression. It was then Northern Rhodesia, and he was running away from oppression in Southern Rhodesia. The difference between Southern Rhodesia and Northern Rhodesia at that time is that Southern Rhodesia had been earmarked to be a dominion and not Northern Rhodesia. And the population which came to settle, we are coming to settle for all time, for 2,000 years. And so the governance was different. It was more stringent in Zimbabwe, more oppressive in Southern Rhodesia than it was in Northern Rhodesia. So they ran and migrated to Zambia. When there, he first joined the UNIP Youth League. That was in 1959. And this was UNIP under former President Kaunda. Thereafter, at the formation of ZAPU, he was a member of the third group under ZAPU to go for military training in Egypt. When the nationalists split, he joined ZANU and was sent to China for military training. He came back and engaged in guerrilla activities back home, was betrayed, as we sometimes all are from time to time. He was imprisoned 10 years, and he took the opportunity of the prison to advance his education. After the 10-year period, in fact, what saved him from the gallows was his age. At that time, the age was 21, the majority age was 21. He was below that, and the law at that time did not permit the hanging of a juvenile. So it helped him. In other words, the stars were in his favor. He then, after the imprisonment, was deported to Zambia. He went and enrolled at the law school in Zambia, University of Zambia, trained, graduated as a law graduate, went into private practice then in a firm then owned by one who turned out to be our first black Chief Justice in Zimbabwe, Justice Dumbujena. He went back to the war front. In 1977, he was appointed a personal assistant to our former president, President Mugabe, a position he held until independence. After independence, he held several portfolios. Firstly, Minister of National Security up to 1987. Thereafter, Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. Thereafter, Minister of Housing and Social Amenities. Thereafter, Speaker of Parliament, Minister of Defense, again, Minister of Justice. Then in 2014, December, he was appointed Vice President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, a position he held until he was dismissed on the 6th of November 2017. And it is that dismissal, which acted as a catalyst for the change that, in fact, we are now witnessing. I could have gone on the preceding catalytic events that took place to lead to the changes in leadership. But the dismissal almost like brought forward the demand for change. And the change came with his inauguration. I won't take you through much of that. With his inauguration on the 24th of November. As I have said, the transition was smooth, procedurally correct, lawful, constitutional. The president has, since his appointment as President of the Republic, launched the country on a new trajectory, economic. His main focus is on the economic recovery. And he will do anything in his power to make sure that any serious investors come to Zimbabwe and feel protected. And if there are any hurdles, please let us know. Those will be removed. We wanted to facilitate your investments in Zimbabwe because we need that investment to turn around the fortunes, economic fortunes of our country. This concludes my introduction, and I believe that I give it back to you, Professor Mutuli, so that maybe we have an opportunity to answer the questions from the audience. I thank you.